Hello everyone, welcome to the Raise.dev Hacktoberfest Help Desk. My name is Jay and I'm your host for this, our last show of the day here on the channel. If you are new to the Hacktoberfest Help Desk, this is a resource for you this Hacktoberfest to help you land your pull requests, get those projects contributed to, get your start in open source, whatever your goal is this Hacktoberfest. And we are here coming to you 3 times a day, all throughout the month, with tips and tricks and new projects you can contribute to and new ways you can contribute to those projects. So every day throughout October, we're coming to you live with 3 different special guests in 3 different shows. And this is our final show of the day and our final special guest. And I will bring them on in just a moment and we will kick off this show. But before that, a couple of administrivia, a couple of little things we've got to run through. First up, as I said, we are here to help you, which means if you have any questions throughout the show, you can ask them in chat and we will try and answer them as we go along. A little bit of a warning, because for some reason the meme of the week has been that we're pre-recorded. I can assure you we are most definitely live. And I think a big part of the reason for that is because if your question isn't directly related to what we're talking about, we get to it a little bit later on rather than, interrupting our lovely guest and changing topic in the heat of the moment. So do not worry. We've seen your question. I'll let you know in chat that I've seen your question and then we'll circle back around to it when we get a moment. So do not panic. The other thing is if you want to post a link to anything you're working on, any projects, or you want to share a link related to what we're speaking about, you've got a cool resource, all of that kind of stuff, super welcome. But the internet is a big and scary place. So we do have a moderation bot who is active that will filter out any links. If you want to make sure that your link gets through the moderation bot, just at RaiseDevs, mention me in the chat at RaiseDevs, and I will. Hi, Floor, welcome. It is Microsoft Day. We had Beth this morning. We've got Jennifer. It's Accidental Microsoft Day, just like we had Accidental Twilio Day last week. Oh, sorry, my green screen is really thinking my forehead is a green screen today. So let me know in the chat and I will permit you so that your link doesn't get filtered. At least once a stream, someone accidentally gets themselves banned by the bot. Not today. We will make it through. The other thing, as I said, we are here 3 times a day, and that's a lot of content. That's a lot of streams. However, will you keep up with our wonderful schedule there at twitch.tv RaiseDev schedule? That is updated weekly, so it is currently through to the end of the week, so it's useless except for tomorrow. Only look at Friday. The rest of the week is out of date. But over the weekend, we will update it for you, and at the end of the show, stick around, and I'll give you a teaser of what's to come next week, the final week of this show. Woo. Hey, Nicholas, thanks for dropping in. Cool. And then the final thing, if you haven't heard of Raise.dev, we are a service to help you level up your developer career, whether you're trying to get your first job, trying to career change, trying to level up from mid-level to senior, trying to get experience to lead your engineering team, whatever it is. We have expert coaches who are available to help you. They will pair with you and work with you one-on-one towards your goals. And we are completely for free whilst you're in early access. So you can sign up now, meet a coach, and get to where you want to be in your developer career. So that's everything from me. Let me bring on our guest for the day. Please welcome Jennifer to the stage. Hey, Jennifer, how you doing?
I'm so excited to be here.
We're very excited to have you. A Floor in the chat recommended we reach out to you. And the minute I saw what you were working on, I was like, yes, this is going to be great. So welcome so much to the stage. Would you like to introduce yourself for the folks in the chat?
Hi, I'm Jennifer. I'm a cloud advocate at Microsoft. I work on the open source team, which is super fantastic. And I work with a bunch of very fabulous people. And we do all kinds of different open source projects, from internal and helping folks understand open source at Microsoft to contributing code, documentation, understanding in general in the community and in open source. So a couple of my coworkers actually do the GopherCon.
Nice.
Put on GopherCon. So it's fabulous.
Wonderful. And that must be such an exciting and I guess inspiring job. So I guess to lay out what we're going to do in the show for the folks in the chat, today we're going to be looking at a project that Jennifer works on, which I have many questions about and around the project in general. But we like to start the show talking a little bit about our guests and, where their careers and how they got to where they are. So my biggest question for you at the moment is as someone who is working on open source as your day job, which is, I think, the aspiration for many people coming into and leaving Hacktoberfest. How did that come about? How did you discover this role? How did this come to be a thing?
It's actually a very interesting path. I've I started my career a long time ago, but I worked at Yahoo for a number of years, and awesome. It was fascinating because we had a little bit, we kept flirting back and forth with are we really doing open source? Are we kind of doing open source? There's some really awesome projects like YUI came out of Yahoo. Not what I was working on, but but some of the stuff that I was working on, like Apache traffic server, did make it out of Yahoo. And some of the other pieces. So my next job that I worked at, the opportunity came up to work at Chef. Have you heard of Chef?
Awesome. I have heard of Chef, and I, for sadder reasons in most recent days, all the wonderful people at Chef who are no longer at Chef. But yes, I have heard of Chef. Very, very well-known and respected company.
Yeah, super fantastic community of folks. Like everything around the community is fabulous, and so much of it open source. And so I had the opportunity first to work in consulting and help different companies incorporate Chef, and then learn about open source. And then I joined the community engineering team and got to work on cookbooks.
Nice.
I took a brief detour to go back to SRE. I worked at a small company called Real Self, and that was really super fun, but I missed the community aspect.
Yeah.
So when the opportunity to work at Microsoft came up in this role, I was like, oh yes, this
is a me role. Excellent.
Yes, it was very like, it meets all my criteria. Fabulous team. Like, I don't get to work with all the fabulous people every single day, but the people.
I mean, there are so many on the Cloud Advocates team; it would be impossible.
I mean, the breadth and reach of the different skills are just amazing. Shout out to Tomomi about her like visual explanation of different things. I'm all about the different ways we can contribute to our communities, not just code. So
that's wonderful. Wicked. So a very DevOpsy path through lots of which is very appropriate for what we're going to talk about, I guess. Lots of the big names in the DevOps kind of world. Awesome. Nicholas in chat saying one day I'll contribute to VS Code. Well, we've shown you a couple of ways on the show now to contribute to VS Code, Nicholas. We can do that when you're on the show next Friday. So that brings us to, I guess, like where you are now. So we're going to be talking about the Porter project, which I will get into like what it is and where it fits and the whole project story. But was that a project you discovered through this role? Was that a project you were already involved in before this role?
I discovered this project via Twitter, actually. It was kind of in association with the role, but kind of not.
Right.
So one of the founders of this project, Carolyn, is just one of the most kindest. I'm like her number one fan in the universe, I think. But she's one of the most kindest, smartest individuals. Her style is amazing. And she spoke at GopherCon, and I was the person who was live blogging her talk at GopherCon last year. And I just loved her style of speaking, her approach to explaining difficult concepts. And I was just like super fan. And I started following her on Twitter, and she did a shout out about like opportunities to connect and collaborate on Porter. And I was like, cool. And then as I started talking to her, I realized there was all these things I just loved about her style. Like when I was in the Chef community, I identified some patterns I didn't really like, that I didn't like, I felt weren't so inclusive.
I said, like, in actual ways that community operated? Or?
Ways that to encourage community inclusivity versus exclude. I felt like it was an interesting thing about how like values are contagious, and our projects are like all the values that we embrace there. Same kind of things. And Carolyn just like, she's just amazing. She's an amazing human being. And the more I got involved with the Porter project, I haven't contributed as much as I have liked over time, but it is just a fabulous project. And I just want everyone to have the opportunity to work with the folks that work on it.
This now makes a lot of sense. So I was checking out the project a little bit before the show, and like one of the things I tend to look for in like projects I haven't encountered before is like, first of all, in that root director, like, hey, code of conduct, contributing MD, like the big, the special GitHub files. And I noticed in Porter that there's like a whole bunch I've never seen before. Like the contribution ladder was someone that really stood out to me. So that now is starting to make a lot of sense in terms of like these like wonderful community, I guess, values and aspects that you're talking about. I'm very excited to talk about that. That'd be awesome. So I guess this is a good time to explain what Porter is.
Well, I actually want to talk to you, and also for people watching on the stream, I would love to hear the answer to the question, what is infrastructure?
Oh boy, okay. Well, so my
ones first.
Yeah. So like, I guess when I associate with infrastructure is, like, especially in the context of this stream, is like, where we deploy and run our code, right? Like where our apps live. The thing that allows the people to use the thing is, I guess, like what I would say. And so I guess for me now in 2020, that means a lot of, I guess actually there's several parts to that. I think if I were to break that down into, like, if I would start to define services that like make up infrastructure, I would have like, like the cloud hostage at one end, and then there's like the tooling along the way. So like all the things that run on GitHub that end up in that pipeline towards deploying your code. So yeah, I guess it's a complicated picture nowadays, I guess, is my answer to that. Anyone in the chat? Oh, here, Nicholas has answered in the chat. Infrastructure is things like your server, your CI, your packages, the things that support the app code you write. How are we doing?
It's really good. So I want to propose this as the definition of infrastructure. So you're going to be really, really clear and understand where Porter fits in.
Right.
I think of infrastructure as the set of fundamental resources, including the services that you need to run your software, the software itself, the compute, and all the human processes it takes to get it running. Because like you have to have those processes in order for it to work. And if you don't understand what's required, it becomes challenging for people to replicate it.
Yeah, absolutely. That makes total sense. That's far too big to be on the screen, but there we go. It's in chat.
That's fantastic. I didn't realize that was beautiful. Yeah.
No, that's a very good definition. I love the inclusion of the human processes. That's really funny because yesterday we had Hugh Rawlinson on the show who was showing us a big part of his open source infrastructure for a project that he works on. And he was walking through semantic release and all the pitfalls he encountered with semantic release. And basically all these pitfalls and all this extra infrastructure he'd had to add to get around those pitfalls were all interaction points with those human processes that are involved in releasing open source software. So that's, I think that totally makes sense.
And I think this is why when I first saw the project, the technical project, and I realized, like, I was like, of course, this is the missing piece.
Right.
So now what is infrastructure as code then?
Right. Infrastructure as code. Now when you bring in the human processes bit, now I'm much less confident about that. But what I would my definition of infrastructure codes, and please jump in, anyone in chat. Don't let me hog y'all's stage. I'm ready to read the minute you say something. Luke said Terraform, which is a good definition for infrastructure of code. And we had Anand from HashiCorp come on and talk about Terraform earlier. But yeah, it's like defining your infrastructure with code and like with various tools like Terraform that allow you to do that. All of my .yaml files. I was waiting for someone to say YAML. But also documentation. Okay.
Documentation covers some of those human process at times.
Yeah.
And this is the thing. So what we typically define as infrastructure as code is the approach of automating our compute infrastructure, like just a sliver of what infrastructure is. So then there's this huge gap between like, how do you get everything working? And so when I've been like the job just previous to this one as an SRE, there was these complex sets of steps to get an app running. Like you needed the backend database, you needed like the Docker images, you needed the data for the database.
And it's only getting more complicated, arguably.
Yeah. So in order for a developer to onboard, to get started to working, they had to understand all these pieces and how the infrastructure, the compute infrastructure are plugged together. And so then it's like this whole developer experience is terrible. So Porter is actually the glue. It's the missing infrastructure as code that fits in and glues everything. It doesn't replace your Terraform. It doesn't replace any Helm charts or any of those different pieces or your shell scripts.
Sure.
You just encode it into this format, and then it becomes this image that then is a single install. And so that is where Porter fits in this
wonderful
whole thing. And it's beautiful. It's so beautiful.
Super neat. Okay, cool. That's very exciting. So I'm scrolling up and down the website now where some things are clicking into place. Very cool. So one thing I realized we didn't test before we jumped into this room is we hadn't tested the screen share. So I don't know if at any point you want to share something, let me know, because we'll have to have a brief intermission while we work out and see if that works.
Oh, I was going to go ahead and do that.
Yeah, so it should hopefully be fine. Sometimes people have to restart their browser depending on Mac accessibility settings, but you've been in the StreamYard before, so we should be okay.
Yeah, I haven't used it with Chrome though, so that's why I'm like,
right. Okay, fingers crossed.
What has lost permission to capture screen? Why has it lost it?
That's usually the one time we don't test it doesn't work straight away. That will probably be something if you go. Oh, sorry. Where does StreamYard keep permissions? So if you're in Chrome, if you click on the lock in the password in the URL bar, that will bring up all of the permissions. So was that a Chrome message, or was that or was that an operating system?
It was a Chrome message.
Okay, yeah.
Except the link it's sending me to something else. So I'm gonna go look at this real quick.
Go on that adventure. I'll hang out with chat. So people in chat are saying, I'm very ashamed to admit this is the first time I've heard of Porter. You don't have to be ashamed. That's what we're here for. There'd be no point doing the stream if everyone had heard of Porter and everyone was using it every day. We're here to share new projects. It's
exactly.
What kind of a big red implement is Joe wielding? This is not red, it is pink. It is my favorite pen in the world. I've had this pen, I got given this pen to me by Braintree whilst I worked there. I think it's a pop-in pen, but you can't tell because the logo's gone. But as the stream discovered the other day, I have a compulsive need to fiddle with things while I'm streaming. And sometimes I drop things like this pen and have to go onto my desk in the middle of the stream because it was driving me mad. So that is why I'm fiddling with, as you called it, big red implement, which now that I read it out loud, Hugh Rawlinson. How are we doing on screen share?
It says it's sharing.
Oh, it's there. Perfect. Okay, cool. I will add it to the stream. There you go.
Woo.
Awesome. So that web page might need some Command plus mashing. This is, I see you're using an ultra wide.
Yeah, now I'm like, oh, that's what it looks like. Interesting.
It's totally fine. We just need to mash control plus on that window. So it zooms in a little bit.
Wrong window. Oh, this is so huge right now. Oh,
perfect. I mean, that's people in chat let us know, but it looks good to me.
Is this window good too, or
they're both good to me? I'm seeing that full screen on a reasonable monitor. Folks in chat let us know, but so far everyone seems happy, so I think we're good.
Gonna scroll down these comments here. Awesome.
Thank you for sharing that site, Nicholas. You're beating me to it.
Terminal's kind of small. Okay.
So yeah, that should also be Command plus, and that would just be beautiful.
I totally make text big because I'm old.
I am the same. Whenever I see people with like size 8 or 11 point text editors so they can get more text in it, I'm just like, no, thank you. I will take my size 56.
Awesome. Awesome. So here is the Porter website. And I liked that you were talking about things that you look for in a open source project to contribute to, because there were so many good things, and I'm totally gonna share some of those feels if that's cool.
About please do. Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, first off, we had a cool logo. We have an even cooler logo now. This cat, I love this cat.
Though I do have to say, I did realize it's a Go project, and surely cats and gophers don't get along super well.
I'm sure they can.
Am I overthinking
they're friendly cats.
Okay, friendly. It's a lovely little Porter. Welcome to Gopher.
So the cat is Michelle.
Yeah.
And this cat needs to be plushies and stickers because I'm totally
definitely
gonna do all the things. But cool, cute little logo.
Yeah.
Community is front and center.
This is learning.
is learning and docs and the quick start. We talk about what Porter is, why Porter. I just explained it by talking about infrastructure and infrastructure as code. But I just wanted to scroll down here because we also talk about like community right here on the front page.
Yep.
And you are all welcome because we're all reading this together.
And it's
we're
the Sparkle
all
Heart, which is the best emoji. Yeah.
Yes.
Perfect.
Carolyn
Wonderful.
is the Sparkle queen. So before I get too involved, I want to talk a little about where Porter came from. Like, so there was this, like, people identified this gap and they started working on this thing called CNAB, which is Cloud Native Application Bundle. And so all of the things that come out of Porter, well, not all of them, but the specific feature sets, there's like a set of specifications in this spec. And Porter is the first to implement all of the features.
Got you. Okay, cool. Because I had to admit, I hadn't heard of CNAB before looking at Porter today, but that makes sense if you're the first to implement it. There were other implementations, like Docker implements part of it. I think there was, I'm totally forgetting, it was a Duffel or Duffy, cannot remember the name of it. But there's been other implementations, but Porter is the first, like I would say, complete implementation. And so if you're wondering like underlying stuff, if you get into really contributing, CNAB is a place to look, but we don't need to understand the whole specification there to actually contribute. Yeah, just describes where the project comes from and what it's trying to achieve.
Yeah, and so let's go ahead and just look at the Porter organization. So one thing that just happened recently is that Porter was adopted by the CNCF sandbox, which is huge because the goal here is like Microsoft is all in for open source, and there's repositories and projects to work on in Microsoft and Azure to contribute to open source. But for Porter, we wanted this to be a cross organization implementation. And so this means getting a foundation to adopt it so that it shows like that long-term support and that it's across organizations.
So the sandbox, folks who are not familiar with the CNCF and how that organization works, what does being in the sandbox mean? And like, what's the path for Porter like going forward?
That is a great question. And I don't want to be all like, here's what this is, but there's a whole host of potential things, but it basically like the that project. I always that word. Yay.
I also saw backstage in there, which Hugh mentioned earlier, the Spotify project at the top, which is really cool. We were talking about that today as well.
Oh, cool.
Yeah,
Brigade, like it's cool. You basically progress, and it if you've ever seen the CNCF landscape, that is like the huge thing. That's like,
it was very popular in a particular meme recently.
Yes, that's pre-sandbox. Anything can be in the landscape. You can like register to be in the landscape. This means it's going to be like there's the backing of the org's foundation behind it. And there's a whole set of requirements in order to get into the sandbox. And that is, we just completed this project. And so there's a bunch of closed issues. So we had to announce it. Yep. There was a footer. You have to have governance. You have to have like code of conduct. So there's so some of the things that you saw, they already existed
as a result.
They already existed for Porter, but they got like updated to include it. So like we did a different logo for the CNCF, and we the footer now actually says
has got the CNCF one. Nice.
Yeah. doesn't actually link to the sandbox information, but it basically means there's a lot more support behind it, and it comes out of the CNCF organization. They provide a lot of utility for open source projects in terms of like community Zooms, ticket tracking, email addresses, so that it's like you can ensure maintainership, even if like your maintainers suddenly are deciding like I'm burned out.
They have other things to do.
And it's interesting because once you actually are in there, you do get more interest. So it's like you are actually exposed to more people wanting to take opportunities to contribute.
Yeah, I mean, CNCF, like Elsa's Foundation, does a lot of advocacy, you know, for good cloud practice. It makes sense if you're a project that's part of that you pick up that attention. That's awesome. One sec, just in chat, Luke, are you saying that you've put the Porter cat as an emoji in the Hacktoberfest Discord? There he has. Okay, that does make sense. I was wondering if that's what you were saying. So the Hacktoberfest Discord, the official Hacktoberfest Discord, now has the Porter cat as an emoji in it.
That's fantastic, and Carolyn will be so happy. I don't know where you pulled it from, but there's the community GitHub.
Yeah,
like totally, like there.
It's a proper transparent PNG.
So
yeah, this is great.
Like there's so much, like it's like here's the small one. So as it gets smaller, does anybody like Doctor Who?
I love Doctor Who. Well, I'm woefully out of date, but I used to love Doctor Who as a Brit.
Okay, so I just have to ask this question. Okay, wait, it doesn't. Okay, right here.
I was watching Doctor Who at the point when the that hat was a big part, was a big fixture. Yeah.
I haven't said this to any of the other maintainers, and I'm like, it's the Doctor.
You need to like slip some fish fingers and custard in there as well, because that was the same season, right?
Yes. So he does everything. No. Yes, fish sticks and custard. Yes, that's what I mean. Yes. Yeah, but perfect. I haven't said it. So if folks are maintainers are watching and oops. So that's the other reason I love this logo so much.
Right.
Because it's the best.
It is beautiful.
Okay. Sorry, I get a little excited.
Also, like lots of open source projects now have beautiful, wonderful logos and stories behind those logos. I haven't often seen full brand guidelines. I respect it greatly.
Ronin is amazing, right? Like, this is why we need people with all different skills.
Yeah.
This is Ronin. He's amazing. This is his work. I say this is his work. Without Carolyn's insight and like this is what I want, and like she's also the founder, like co-founder of the Porter project, and she's the person I was talking about who is like I'm a super fan.
That's awesome. Let me throw these profiles in chat for anyone who wants to follow along. Lucas said he's going to go to the official brand guidelines and do it properly now.
Awesome. Yeah. So they're like those two folks are the guidance on like making this happen fantastically. So like I love this cat. I think all open source projects should have a cool logo. We need to get design people and UX people who are really good at these things to help out.
For sure.
So wonderful. If you're watching and you're not sure because you don't code, you know what? If you can make cool animals.
More projects need brand guidelines.
Yes. We need
There we go. That's the two profiles. Cool. So yeah, so the community repo. The fact there is a community repo is also really cool. As like a little collection of all the things that I guess are not.
There's mostly like the art stuff. The website, at like this website, Porter website, is all in. It's a Hugo doc inside the Porter,
nice.
So it's all tied together.
Nice. Very cool.
So let's see. Where should I start? You know what? I'm gonna actually start with a. No. I'm not gonna go there. Sorry. I'm not like, oh,
Okay.
this is so fantastic. Okay, so I'm going to talk about some of the stuff that I thought was fabulous before I joined this project about how things were organized. Okay,
Perfect.
So this is your typical issues, right?
Right.
Yeah, issues, whatevs. Well, you know, a cool thing to check out on a project is the labels.
Right.
And let me tell you, these labels are fantastic. Can you?
What are those ones at the top? Is that like 0 plus some emote? Yeah, they are. What?
Okay.
Emergency donor? What?
Yes, because you know what? Sometimes you need to classify your particular issues and you need to say how important they are. And if you associate it with the things that you like and you make it more human to connect with, emergency donuts come first. These are our top priorities.
I see.
After the donuts, you get chocolate.
Right. And then you need to eat pizza daily, but no particular rush. As long as it's once a day, it's fine.
You don't want too many donuts, right?
Right.
But pizza you can have every day. Right?
Shreya says pizza first. No, Shreya, you're breaking the order of things. That's also why there's numbers, just to clarify.
Exactly. So that you get both the, I'm new to this project, I don't know what's going on.
Right.
You also have, of course, yes, we're going to flag this as a bug.
Bugs, yeah.
Design is this green. So see now, going back to that spec that I pointed out, like, oh, this is associated with that. We need to tie it directly to this.
Yeah.
We have docs.
I also love, like, so a lot of these are default GitHub labels like bug and enhancement, but there's the added descriptions are really nice. Like, oops, sorry is not a default description for that. And I particularly love design, bust out your paint chips, it's time to bike shed. That is, I want that on a shirt. I think that's brilliant.
It is. And it's like this human element that shows like we have thought about issues and how we qualify them, and we care and we want to communicate with you this extra human process behind what we think about, not just in like, here's this long document for you to read, but also how to like label things.
Right.
We do have, of course, our good first issue, which is good for new contributors. We have our help wanted, which we are explicit. Those are good for casual contributors. So there's a difference between like, hey, I want to commit to the Porter project because it is so awesome and I know you all want to. And hey, I just want to help with this one little thing. Right. I also love
is good. Yeah.
This one. It's like, yes, we know this is an issue.
Right.
We all need to think about it. It doesn't mean don't contribute your thoughts. It means don't start writing code on this yet.
And don't take things that are like written in this as like design when they are still discussion. And
there's still discussion. And you know what is really great here is when you can draw things to better illustrate potential things, because usually these are areas where like, oh, this is a hard problem.
Yeah. That's it. There should won't fix. This will not be worked on. Sorry, not sorry.
Yes. And then
or hell the
of
UX
course,
yeah.
User experience. We like for users to be happy.
Yeah.
So
very cool.
Going to some good first issues.
Yeah.
I leveled up my style because of Carolyn for these.
Okay.
So again, this is like this original bug I wrote out with on a live stream with folks working to write up a problem that we saw. And so this is a good first issue. Anybody can take this. If someone on the stream wants to go ahead and grab this because you're inspired. What Carolyn sets the bar for as a good first issue is so amazing. So first, it has to describe what needs to be worked on. And then second, it needs to have the expected behavior defined. Like, and it will have like really clear directions. Do this,
Right.
do this, do this. And if it's like add something to documentation or add code, writing some sample code or writing the sample document sentence that needs to go there. It doesn't mean you have to do this exact thing, but this is like an example.
Removing as many,
yeah. So it's like the bar for like good first issue is you can do it, like you have all the things that you need here, and if there's not enough details, it's totally cool to ask for more. But instead of like, hey, there's this bug with documentation, it needs to have this thing. It's like really clearly defined.
Right. Yeah, that's great, because there's like, I think good first issue is such a potentially overloaded term. Like, is it a good first issue because it's a good introduction to this project, or because it's an easy issue, like in terms of like, you know, like the knowledge required? And so I think that separation, adding those examples makes it clearer towards like, it's a good first issue in the context of this project, not necessarily your entire coding journey. And so we should explain like those problem solving steps into like however they can along the way. It still leave the door open if you are further along, but we're trying to onboard you on the project more than we're trying to, you know, make you do a whiteboard test, if that made sense.
Exactly. And what's so fascinating to me when I think about it is like, in open source, we have to be comfortable with basically having open issues, like in your work environments, not the open source stuff. Like if you have things, you just want to, okay, I know what it needs to be done. I just need to get it done. So like this issue, I helped write with these folks. So like these folks collaborated on this.
Yeah.
But I didn't want to do this issue, right? Because that like it's not for me.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So
which was something there's we had Gregor from the OctaKit project on last week. Who have you seen the First Time Is Only bot?
I have.
Yeah. But like he had a very similar point there where like that comes in where like, hey, there are some issues that you identify as a maintainer that would be like a quick fix, but actually it's often more times like better to set those aside and say, that's a good first issue. I don't need to fix that myself right now. Also, heads up, apparently there's a new comment on this issue. Someone in the chat has just chimed in.
That's awesome.
There he is. There's Nicholas.
Fantastic. And so one of the things about this project, like I said, or maybe I didn't say it and I just thought it, is that once you do a contribution, whatever it is, whether you update an issue, whether you create a pull request, whatever the case is, we also want people to submit a pull request separate from that other thing that they're contributing to, and add their name, because we recognize that when you are doing GitHub, some of your contributions aren't included. Just because you have like commented in an issue, you're not going to show up in the GitHub as a contributor. So we want to recognize the people who have helped shape the project.
That's awesome. Very nice.
So another thing I wanted to talk about is, we do have our project board, which is a roadmap. And this is another area where I was like, oh, this is so fantastic. Oh, it sounds like a good opportunity to mention allcontributors.org.
Oh, yes. So allcontributors.org is a set of tools, mainly a bot for recognizing all contributors by adding them to the README in a really nice way.
Nice.
It's a super nice tool. You'll see it on a lot of projects. So like when you go to a project and the README has like that really nice grid of all the contributors in the bottom, usually that's all contributors.
Oh, wow. I'm going to actually, you know what? Do you want to submit an issue to the porters?
Yeah, go for it, Nicholas.
Who was it?
It was NH Carrigan.
An issue. That's fantastic. So another cool meta about Porter project. So we have this roadmap, but it's not roadmap like a lot of organizations think of roadmap like we're committing to this and 1.0
this quarter,
here,
next quarter, here's the features. Yeah.
It's not like you're like, because you never know with the open source project who's going to be available, what they're going to be doing, how that work is happening, and what the possibilities are. You want to keep possibilities. So the roadmap has these categories. So yay is we got this done, and like yay, we're going to keep track of it. We're not gonna archive it. Like we just want to show like these are these awesome things that we have done.
Yeah.
And then now is the stuff we're working on right now.
Right.
The other piece of this is that we're not gonna assign it to people so that people are like, there's no project manager that's coming to look at the roadmap and going, okay, Jennifer, why haven't you done this? And so for me, I'm actually working on this improve new contributor experience. So like I would love if people do look at this project. And as we talk more about it, if they give me any feedback, because that is totally where I'm trying to improve this whole process of like how you contribute to the project and understand it. I'm pretty sure we're complete with the CNCF transition. And we also, I believe this is either done or
a column ahead.
Yeah, I think we need to update our roadmap. We got a little distracted with the CNCF transition.
Yeah. It sounds like a lot of work to do. And also, this is, I said when Beth came on with Microsoft Graph Toolkit today, and they were using GitHub projects very heavily. It's relatively rare for an open source for any project to have even a maintained GitHub project that like lays out any status, let alone a roadmap. So the fact this exists even is a little out of date. It's very impressive.
Yeah, if it is out of date, it's very little out of date.
Right.
It's complicated. I love this one. It's not a backlog.
Right.
It's complicated because it's not going to move in a few months.
Right.
But these are all things that have been brought up. We know we want them, but we need more people.
I see.
So more contribution, more contributors, more we can talk about these various things that we want to add. So it's complicated.
No, I've just noticed something that like, if you scroll down, this is completely irrelevant, but it's going to drive me mad. From a distance, the HUM label looks like a MasterCard logo, and now I can't unsee it.
Thankfully I'm not seeing it yet, so that's okay.
Cool, good. I'm going to see it every time I look at it now. Cool. Yeah, that's a lovely roadmap and makes a lot of sense. And I think that categorization, what you say about like, like it's an open source project, these are variable. We can't project manage it the same way as we do a project where, people are accountable to you and they're paid for set hours. Makes a lot of sense. It's a wonderful way of thinking about that. And a much less punishing way of thinking about that. I think
that's exactly it. We don't want people to feel like, oh no, I didn't get this thing done. So therefore, like I'm a failure or something. Yeah. We want people to feel welcome, regardless of whether it's casual or it's like a continuing adventure, whatever the case is.
Right. Very cool.
Okay. So I can go a lot of different directions, but I do want to briefly sidestep and do a little bit of talking about Porter itself. Is that cool?
That's wonderful. I think that's very on topic.
Okay, cool. So I'm actually going to leverage my pull request because that's the updated one. What's nice about the documentation.
Nicholas said yes, please. So we have agreement from chat too.
Oh, I'm realizing maybe one of my pull requests for documentation.
Oh, was the one you're looking for got merged?
It might have done. Oh, yeah, it did.
Cool.
When did it get merged? Oh, I totally missed it. I was looking at this earlier because I wanted to make sure the Hacktoberfest. So the project itself isn't labeled as Hacktoberfest. So please
you're doing it per PR.
Yeah. So ping me so that I can label things because I wanted to make sure that actually is valid.
For me to bring up your Twitter as well.
What was that?
So that's a good time for me to bring up your Twitter as well. The banner we prepared earlier.
Oh, that's awesome. I totally was like, oh, like this is cool. It's cool. We're gonna go down this path. Okay. Okay. So I'm in the process of updating. Yeah, no, I'm just gonna go to the
Cool.
I'm gonna go to the live one. So anything that doesn't make sense, please, please, please. I love to get the feedback so I can be like, oh yes, this thing. Okay.
Chat will let us know.
Awesome. Okay. So the first thing is, so I'm gonna start here because I think I bounced here real quick. So
Sure.
I'm just gonna go to Quick Start.
Great.
That's so from the website, just Quick Start. So first thing is you have to get Porter. It's not documented here, but you also need Docker. So the reason you need Docker is the thing that Porter is going to create this bundle.
Yeah.
The bundle is actually a Docker image.
Okay.
It's awesome. So you're going to use Docker to bundle things and install things.
Great. That makes sense.
So it's pretty cool. Right now, the Quick Start is talking about from the perspective of a bundle author. I'm changing this so that it's a bundle user. But this is useful to talk about a few concepts about that are in Porter. So the first concept is this Porter manifest. And this is kind of the way that things are glued together. So the name of the bundle is going to be, so this is actually a sample default manifest. And you actually can generate one of these. It will, like, when you install Porter.
Cool.
And so you've got the name of your bundle, the description of what it's going to do, and then this tag. There's actually a project in the works to sort of separate this out a little bit. So keep in mind, this is going to change right here.
Okay.
But this is essentially a registry. So I'm going to go to, I think I opened, yes. So we're using Docker, and it's just an image up here on Docker. So which one is?
It was get Porter
hello.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So
Shreyas asked, is there going to be a demo? Which I guess this is a demo.
Yes.
What's happening now?
We're going to get to the demo. Totally going to demo it.
So yes, Shreyas.
I'm just going to talk a little bit about these different pieces before I go into the demo.
Perfect.
So bundles have actions, and the default actions is defined by the spec. The CNAME spec is install, upgrade, and uninstall. Those are the only three you have to have. With Porter, you can add more. So for like Terraform, you might have apply for the plans, or to show the plans. So in this example manifest, all it's doing is basically running a script that's echo hello world. So this is in line using bash to run echo hello world.
Cool.
And upgrade is going to echo world 2.0.
Nice.
And uninstall the bundle is going to say goodbye world. Right.
Cool. That makes sense.
So these are three actions, and those actions use things called mixins. Mixins are these adapters between Porter and whatever tool you're using. So Terraform, shell scripts, any of these different things. So when we talk about other areas to contribute to, you can contribute to any mixin. So Terraform, Kubernetes, Helm, Docker, that's a relatively new one. From the intern from this summer. There's a ton of mixins. You can also create a mixin, and you start off with the Skeletor project. So any of these projects are also good places if that's your, like, you specialize in that particular thing.
Yeah,
that's a good place.
Okay, so we have our first question about, I guess, like what's being explained. So Shreyas asked, so Porter runs all of those commands inside the container.
No, it's going to run them to whatever you're going to install to. So bare metal or a container, whatever it is that you're doing it to. It could be Azure resources. It could be anything.
Cool. So it depends on the mixin, essentially. Well,
whatever it is. But to create the bundle, that's all going into this, what's called an invocation image. And that image is going to have all the pieces in it. And that's the only reason you have Docker.
Right, got you.
And then, so this is the most basic Porter manifest you can have, essentially.
So those 3 commands are the required ones, you said, right?
3 actions. Yeah.
Cool. Okay.
You're defining those 3 actions. You can have additional actions. You can also have parameters, which are just like parameters that you would use. And for instance, like AWS's, my brain, CloudFormation templates or ARM templates or whatever. Those ways to say, like, I'm going to abstract this out and you provide it at the time of the instance. You also can use outputs. So this step is going to output content that I want to go to the next step.
Nice. That's cool.
And then you have credentials that you can then have secrets. So you're not just like
passing them around in a config somewhere.
splatting secrets everywhere.
Yeah. Awesome. Man.
Okay. So you've got the Porter, the Porter definition through the manifest. You'll build the bundle, and that's like basically, it looks a lot like a Docker set of steps. You're going to install the bundle, and then you'll uninstall. Now, I'm switching this over from, like, this quick start is not going to be from the authoring perspective. I want to show it, though, here because it's what we have on there.
Right. But
I do want to demo using an example that you actually can get. This is not the Porter example. I'm actually showing it from a mixin, the Terraform mixin.
Cool.
And so this mixin actually has a set of examples, and it's this basic Terraform example.
Great. Okay. So basic Terraform. There we go. I'll throw that in chat.
And so, just like I showed before, we have a name, we have our mixin that we're going to use Terraform. This actually does use parameters. It uses TF state because if you've used Terraform before, you know that it's got this state file. And
I'm sure the Terraform fans in chat will be happy to see. Cool.
And you've got your parameters. So it's using a bunch of the different things. And then here's how you have additional actions. Show and plan. So I'm just going to show a quick example of how you would use this. Now, you don't have to, in order to use a bundle, you do not have to download it from GitHub in this way. You can actually install using the tag name that will pull from the registry. But I am going to use it from this repository, so I will be using it. So I'm just going to do this. So I already have this installed. Or no, I uninstalled it, so I don't have it installed right now. But these are some samples that I did. So to install it, I'm just going to install. And so
I see you have an action in one of your samples called zombies.
Yes, that is actually the hello. So what I just did is I did an install. What that does is runs these install action. Yeah. Right. Cool. So it did this Terraform init, and this is using that Terraform mixin. Right. So now if I look at it, I can see this is like the list of actions. So you can see I was mucking around with this.
Oh, that's really useful. Okay.
Yeah. I can actually, to do any actions that are in that are defined that are not the defaults, I'm going to use the invoke. Right? And we have Terraform plan. I actually feel like this example should be changed.
Not saying that.
Because I honestly, I kind of want to spin up something, because this is not my, like, I did not write this one. I wonder what happens if you do Terraform apply dev null. Like
I mean,
it would be terrible, right? It wouldn't do anything. It would fail, right? But I don't trust it, so I'm not doing it, right?
Yeah.
So I feel like this example should actually really save the state file to the right place and the plan to the right place. And then doesn't encourage people to do a bad pattern. So this is a bad pattern. Don't do that. And then there's the uninstall, right?
Cool.
So it's basically super simple. These bundles can get really complex.
Right.
And this is another place where it's a useful contribution to add examples. So going back to the main Porter project tree, there's these different examples. One, you can test those examples out to validate do they work. Yeah. Two, you can contribute new ones.
Right.
But basically, you can see how complex these.
Yeah, so I was going to ask for a chunky one, then I saw WordPress in the list and realized what was coming. Cool.
Yeah, I'm not going to run this one because I don't want to mess with subscription IDs and all of this. But yeah, so like you can see, this one uses ARM and Helm. So ARM templates are Azure's resource manager templates. And if you write those are like, this whole Bicep came out recently to as an intermediate language rather than trying to write ARM templates, which can get really complicated.
Right.
So this is another area that you can contribute to.
Cool.
How
are we doing in chat? Chat's gone very quiet. Have you got any questions following us?
Like, it's anybody? There's your Terraform.
Cool. Let's see if anyone has any questions. Show us a sign of life that you've understood what we've done. Cool. Okay.
Are we disconnected from the internet?
We're good.
Everybody's happy now.
Consuming. Nicholas is here. They're digesting. Cool. Okay. That makes sense. So
is this good stuff so far? Are people learning stuff?
There's a bit of a delay between us and chat, so there's a 30-second round trip. Cool. So yeah, that's also, this is that whole concept of like adding mix-ins and adding examples is like one of the things that makes when you have a project which has that capability, it's like such a nice environment for new contributors, because there's always some platform or some language that or some product that that would be a good fit for an example or like a mix-in or an SDK or an adapter and whatever other project that makes it really easy to dive in as a new contributor and make something useful, which is super cool.
Yeah, and areas where the Porter maintainers currently might not be an expert. Right. So it's always helpful. Thank you so much for contributing, Nicholas. It's been awesome.
Oh yeah,
I'm gonna be looking for that pull request. I'm like, where's that pull request?
He opened the issue about it, I believe. There you go.
Well, no, he was like, can I take a stab?
Oh yeah, the one he asked to take. Yeah, he's got multiple jobs now. Cool.
Oh, this is cute.
Yeah, it's nice.
I like this. It's really well documented. See, very cool.
So sorry, I completely distracted you. So we were looking at like one of the bigger examples of doing this.
Yeah, we were looking at the bigger example, and then I was gonna go somewhere else with this, and then I forgot where I was going. We were talking about brains.
That's what we're here for. So I mean, the regulars in chat know that this is 11 p.m. for me, so we're lucky that I'm still talking English at the moment. Usually I'd be in slurring territory by now.
Oh, some other areas. So there is a desire for a homebrew tap for Porter. And I set up the initial repository, but if you are a Mac user and you want to set up a tap, that's another area to contribute to.
Nice. Okay.
There is also this Azure CNAB quick starts. If you're an Azure person, these are the same thing as the examples that we use over here. So you can get a twofer.
Yeah.
Because the examples don't have to use Azure, but like there's also this Azure CNAB quick start, which like I wanted to point out because I'm like, look, you get twofers because you get to contribute one here and one here. They're not like automatically copied over.
Yeah. Wonderful.
There was something else that was really cool that I wanted to share. Oh, yes. Another really awesome, super helpful, super welcome thing is, one of the things I do when I'm starting to look at a project is I look at the FAQ and I look at issues that are in either open or closed state. And there's these nuggets of information that people share in the issues that come up over and over again. And yet they don't make it into the FAQ.
Right. Which is funny because GitHub in the issues thing, there's a canned replies feature, which like people use for that stuff, the answers they say over and over again. So like they get recognized that they're repeated and then don't put them into a permanent. So I guess in Porter's case, a lot of them do make it into the FAQ because you're keeping an eye out for that. Is there like
we want to? Yes.
Cool.
So anything as you're like looking at issues and you realize like, oh, this isn't showing up in the FAQ, and that is actually a really interesting information. Because any of the maintainers totally pull. You can like literally copy paste definitions straight into a pull request for a FAQ update.
Yeah.
If it comes from someone else that's not a maintainer. It's a good practice to ask them, is it okay if I take your words and word for word put them in a pull request?
Yeah. And you said the site is open source as well, right? So I guess you could do that, like when you open an issue or pull request for this in the site to say, oh yeah, it's in the docs. Yeah. When you open that issue or pull request to say like, hey, I'm adding this to the FAQ, you could tag them at that point and say, is it okay if we do this?
Yes.
Cool.
The FAQ is right in here.
Nice. Beautiful.
So,
really easy to add. Cool. Very nice. Yeah, we've got a wealth of places and ways to contribute.
We love contributors. I should not put this on this.
It's all good. We're getting Inception. I can drop your screen so you can bring it over. There you go.
Okay, cool. Because I'm like, I keep looking over to see what people are saying because I love seeing what people are saying. I love this idea of making a bot.
Yeah, that'd be really nice. I guess you could just do simple like pattern recognition and see if the answers look the same, but I'm sure someone would get fancy with machine learning. But that would be Shreyas, if you watched our episode on Probot, that'd be a good usage of Probot if you wanted to build a bot around that. That'd be very nice. Cool. Awesome. So yeah, thank you for showing us, the project and how it works, and then so many different ways to contribute and picking up a contributor along the way. Nicholas, I thought you said you had to go. Are we distracting you from something important? Is there anything else you wanted to share with folks, or anything?
I would love to have a shout out and encourage folks. I don't know if you can share Carolyn's awesome Twitter account.
Absolutely.
As she is so fabulous. All the maintainers, Vaughn, Jeremy, all of them. Jeremy is the co-founder for Porter. They're all fabulous, but especially Carolyn. Just if we could all send out a Twitter shout out how fantastic she is, because she's so awesome. I love her so much.
You've also just reminded me of another shout out that Floor asked me to make, which I will do now because I've forgotten it for 2 streams in a row. Tomorrow is an event that Floor has been working on with a bunch of Ruby folks. She mentioned it on the stream. She was with us for, it is the Ruby Open Source Conference, Remote Friendly Edition. It does start tomorrow.
This sounds so awesome.
It's super great. It's going to be wonderful. If you enjoyed our show with Floor, you should attend this. If you enjoyed our show with Penelope, the maintainer of Ruby Format, Penelope is speaking here tomorrow and will help you hack on Ruby format. Attend this. I have now remembered the thing because it's been bugging me all day that I keep forgetting it.
Ruby is such a welcoming community. Like they're so awesome. Like everybody that I've ever met in the Ruby community, like that's Chef was Ruby, but like now I'm really getting into Go, and I'm like, oh, the Go community is so awesome. But I have a special love for.
Yeah, they're all cute teddy bears. Rust is another one that's doing very well at like being a welcoming community. So speaking of shouting out Twitter accounts, again, this is Jennifer's one. If you'd like to follow Jennifer's tweets and or reach out about anything in the show, any further questions. So if you are active, if you're now in the Porter repo, I guess you can also do that over issues. Does Porter have a like community chat space or anything like a Discord or a Slack or anything like that?
There is it's listed in the community on the website. It's on the CNCF Slack, and it's in the Porter channel. So let's see if I link. It's a cloud native. I'm just going to link this to you in the private chat. You can share it with folks. But on that community page, there is the mailing list. So if you like one direction, like receiving information, it's a very low traffic list in terms of like content. The Porter channel on CNCF is where we talk about what's going on and have conversations. There's been some interesting conversations recently about different things going on in Windows and Windows images.
Great. Yeah. Interesting. Nicholas says you'll need a Discord. Nicholas, we need to find a channel for our Discord evangelism. We have managed to derail so many streams now just getting into the wonderfulness of Discord.
Is there a Discord channel? Like I feel like Discord is fantastic for gaming, and I love Begenbot's Discord.
So let me tell you about a great thing that happened. Sorry, this is I said it would happen. It happens every time. Discord, I had Discord is very into gaming, has been in gaming for ages, super unwelcoming because it had weird gaming memes when you start it up. A little while ago, that is a mother of all links. That is not.
Whoa, that's not useful. A single. That's
Engadget for that. Why am I pressing an Engadget link? Anyway, the point is, and I'll find a better source for it. Discord dropped the gaming branding, and now they're going for a much more generic community branding, and so it's now much more welcoming for folks that aren't gaming. Since then, we've seen like the Electron project and lots of developer communities finally make the move to Discord. So it is a good time because they're now not just weird gaming memes everywhere, and I personally was super excited about it.
That's awesome. There's actually an official Microsoft Python Discord. So if you're into Python, there is that one. We're debating whether to have like a Microsoft open source one, mainly because we think Discord's pretty cool. And just having like a generic one. I just don't know. Is there a generic open source Discord?
I don't. It's one of the things that I've struggled to find. I don't know if there is one. It's like there's more generic communities. Like there is a generic software development community, but it's really not a great space. It's quite an old one and has a lot of that like gaming legacy going on. But so I don't think it's a vacuum that is waiting to be filled, I think. Discord do have an open source page where they list a lot of the open source developer communities that are on Discord. So there might be something on that, but not to my knowledge.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah. Rosconf is on Discord. Anyway, that's my Discord evangelism. So yeah, thank you so much for being with us and for running.
This has been so great. Thank you so much for the opportunity.
No problem at all, and hope you enjoy the rest of your day. I will now do what I have never found an elegant way to do, which is the backstage shuffle. So I will slide you backstage and free you from our stage, and I will go on to do the intro. So thank you again so much.
Thank you.
Alrighty, thank you again, Jennifer. That was awesome, and I'm so glad that we managed to send you a contributor right away. For the rest of you, thank you for being here. This has been wonderful. I hope you join us for our streams tomorrow. Just a reminder that we are coming up on the end of Hacktoberfest. We have 1 week of streams left. Where can you find out about those streams? Where can you find out what's coming up? Over the weekend, you'll be able to find out on our schedule page. But for now, it will only tell you about tomorrow. So what we're going to do right now, I'll tell you who's coming on tomorrow, and I'll give you a teaser for next week. So tomorrow on the early show, we have Josh Zilak from Orbit. He's the co-founder of Orbit, which is an awesome platform for analyzing developer communities, basically. Currently, the app works in GitHub, and they've got a model, the Orbit model, which is a really useful way to think about the health of your communities. I'm a huge fan. We're going to ask Josh about all that good stuff, and then we're going to play our favorite game, which we call Git Blame, where we ask a guest to bring their old code, and we review it in terms of what they've learned and how they've grown since they wrote it, and ask them how they would do things differently today. So we're going to do that with some Hugo code with Josh tomorrow. Then we've got Stefan Young from Customer.io. Stefan is bringing us again, we're playing the old code game. And Stefan is bringing us an SMTP server, which is actually still in use at Customer.io, which is going to make a very fun edition of the old code game, because he's not only going to be thinking about what you do differently today, but what he needs to fix and currently running code. So that's going to be fun. Then we have Corey Alexander, who is a Rubyist, speaking of Ruby. And that show is going to be hosted by our founder, John Britton. So you'll be free of me for a show. And Corey is a double bill. We're going to be playing the old code game with a project he no longer maintains called Sleet. And then we're going to be looking at a project he's now moved on to, which is a really interesting project. It was originally written in Bash, and then he ported it to Rust. So that's going to be fun. So that's tomorrow. Some great shows tomorrow, very code heavy shows tomorrow. Finishing off the end of the week, laughing at our old code. What we love to see. So going into next week, let me give you a lightning tour of next week. Next week, we do have a full 3 shows a day for the whole week, up to the end of Hacktoberfest. So that is 15 shows next week. Pray for me. So I'll go through them really, really fast. Stress, I'll answer your question in just a moment. So Monday, we have Tanya Allard, also from Microsoft. Monday morning, we have Ian Jennings. Ian Jennings is a freelance, works on developer experience stuff. So like trying to help companies improve their developer experience. Really awesome guy. He built something super cool that I hope we get to talk about. We'll see. Michelle Mannering from GitHub. She's in Australia. She's on the developer advocacy team. If you liked our show with Brian, we're going to have Michelle is on the same team. She's super rad. I got to meet her when I was in Melbourne last year. Really excited to have her on the show. She does a lot of streaming as well. Tuesday, Prince Wilson. I don't know if any of the corgis are here, but Prince is coming on. We don't know what we're doing with Prince yet. Prince is having a look for us, but Prince is super awesome. Known Prince a really long time from hackathons, another hackathon victim. Then the middle show on Tuesday is our Dev2 takeover. That's when the really awesome folks from Dev, the developer community, take over the show, and they work on issues on Forum, the platform that powers Dev. So Nick is going to be back with some more guests on the mid slot on Tuesday, taking over the show, working on Forum and Dev2. So that's a really awesome show. Highly recommend that. Then Tuesday night, we've got Marcin from the Enzo project. Enzo is a open source programming language that is both a textual programming language, but also a visual language. It's aimed at data scientists, and they've been doing a big rewrite from an original code base, Luna. They rewrote and rebranded from Luna 1.0 or Luna 1.9 in Haskell and Atom, the Atom text editor. They have now completely moved over to a fresh code base, new technologies. It's Scala, Rust, and Wasm. And so I'm going to ask him all about that process, how you do a complete rewrite of your open source project and maintain kind of both in tangent. And he's going to show us. Enzo's not released yet. It's coming up to release. So we're going to get a very early look at some of the things that are coming out, I think, and then poke into the engine. So if you're interested in programming languages and compilers, Marcin, who I think is still watching the chat, so hopefully I've said everything correctly. He'll beat me up in Discord if I haven't. Marcin is going to show us behind the scenes of some of those things, and we're going to get into some details. That'll be very nice. Wednesday, we have Mr. Matthew Cowley himself back, community platform manager at DigitalOcean. Some of you, if you're in the Hacktoberfest Discord, will know him as the community manager of Hacktoberfest. He's been working really hard on the Hacktoberfest and Hacktoberfest app. He's back with us on Wednesday. We had him this Wednesday talking about all things Hacktoberfest. This coming Wednesday, we're going to dive into CDN.js a little bit more instead. That's another project he works on. We've got Wilhelm Klopp, who's also been on the show twice before. Wilhelm runs his own software business in London. He used to work with me at GitHub, and then he left GitHub because an app he had built, Simple Poll. If you use Slack, you probably have used Simple Poll. This app that he built kind of continue to grow to the point where it was a self-sustaining business. And so he now does that full time and has hired staff. We've heard about that journey a couple of times from him, but we come back to it every week to dive into different bits. This coming week, he's released a lot of new products since he started Simple Poll. And this coming week, I want to ask him about basically his product development methodology and also developer tools, because this is a passion for Wilhelm. And he wrote a really interesting thesis where he's at uni about mobile development tools, which is something I'm super interested in, as in like tools for developing on your mobile, not as in for writing apps for mobile, but you're on your mobile phone writing code. So we're going to get into that this Wednesday. He doesn't know we're going to do that. He will on Wednesday. Then we've got Angel Rivera from Circle CI, and that's going to be a show all about CI, as you would expect. We've seen a lot of CI things in the show. We've seen cool automations from Hue, from OctoKit. We've seen a lot of open source projects that are running CI in different ways. We've seen some GitHub Actions. Angel Rivera is going to give us like the real deep and low down with that. Cool. Sorry, that was a question. So that'll be on Wednesday. And then Thursday, we've got Gianluca, who is from Equinix Metal. If you enjoyed our stream with Rain, Gianluca is a colleague of Rain's. I don't believe we know the topic from that one yet either. I'll get you that as soon as we have it. Then we've got Nathaniel from Twilio. Again, we're waiting on the topic for that one. But Nathaniel's awesome. He's on the Twilio advocacy team based in London. Sam Lanning, they are a developer I met when they were working at Semel, then acquired by GitHub. Now, I believe they're at the UN, which is going to be fascinating. I'm very excited to talk to Sam on Thursday. Again, it's one of those things where I realize I'm excited about all of these. But if I say I'm excited about one in particular, ignore me. Friday morning, to answer to Shreyas' question, Friday morning is when we have Nicholas Carrigan, who is famous in chat. Nicholas will be joining us for a show. We did decide on the topic, didn't we, Nicholas? Let me quickly go through. I don't know if we have decided on the topic yet. We will. Maybe we'll crowdsource that from Hacktoberfest Discord, hey? And then we've got Eddie. Again, Eddie is an open source advocate. He has a really awesome YouTube channel. He was actually our first guest on the show way back when. And he's been really busy this Hacktoberfest, inspiring people to get into open source, providing them resources and helping them get along. We're going to have a catch up with Eddie, see what he's been up to, see how Hacktoberfest has gone from his perspective, and talk to him about all things open source again. And then our last show is of our very own Chris Ewald. If you have watched any of the shows of the Raise.dev alumni, you'll have heard about Chris. Chris is one of our coaches here at Raise.dev. He's been with Raise.dev for a really long time. He's an awesome teacher, an awesome coach, an awesome developer, and we're going to be talking to him and picking his brains about all of those things. And that is our last show of Hacktoberfest. That we may be doing something on Saturday the 31st. We have to see. We are thinking of flipping the script and opening this StreamYard up to the Hacktoberfest Discord and inviting people on from that Discord to come and share what they've worked on this Hacktoberfest. That is going to be a logistical challenge. So I want to make sure there's interest in that before we do it. If you would like to see that, let me know in the Raise Devs channel on Hacktoberfest. If you would on the Hacktoberfest Discord, if you would like to participate, let me know in the Raise Devs channel on the Hacktoberfest Discord. And if we have enough interest, we'll try and see if we can pull that off and see how many contributors we can get through in the time of a stream. So yeah, that's everything from me today. The final reminder, if you haven't signed up for Raise.dev yet, or you don't know what we are a service to help you level up in your developer career. We have expert coaches, people like Chris, who will walk you through the problems you're having. They'll help you set goals. They'll work with you on getting your first developer job if you've just come from a career change or a boot camp or something like that, or they'll help you progress in your career if you're already in a developer job. So you're looking for that next level up, you're looking for a raise, you think you're undervalued, all of those things. We will help you get the experience you need to make that jump. If you want more info on that, you can go to our blog, where you'll find a blog called Bridging the Developer Experience Gap, which is from our founder and talking about where Raise.dev comes from. There's also a video on our Twitch page. If you look for the highlight called Bridging the Developer Experience Gap, that is an interview we did in this channel on our first day of launch, where we spoke about basically the goals and our ambitions. So you can find that if you want more info. So that is all for me. Thank you so much for joining us. And again, thank you to Jennifer and our guests for the day. It's been a long day. I've already forgot who we spoke to today. So we had Jennifer just now. Earlier today, we had Adrian Howard from Coria and Beth Pan from Microsoft this morning. So I will see you all hopefully tomorrow. If I don't see you tomorrow, enjoy the rest of your week and your weekend. And I will see you on the other side. Thank you so much.